Hey guys, what up? Dot Vasicek here of Raw Wanderlust, and today I want to do something a little different and go off script, totally off script, and just talk, just speak my mind about something specific. And the thing I want to talk about is language, but not just language. I want to talk about the lessons I've learned from learning another language besides the language itself. I don't consider myself bilingual yet, but I'm working on it. I am in Spain right now learning Spanish, and it's been interesting. It's been really interesting. I've learned a lot about a lot of things besides the language, and of course I'm fascinated by Spanish. I've been kind of obsessed with it for a while now, and I have seen huge improvements in my language acquisition since I've been here. But I've also seen really big jumps for myself personally as a human being. And that comes from putting myself in this really uncomfortable place of being very vulnerable, okay? Like, I'm in another country, I don't speak the language. Suddenly things like, really simple things like going to the movies or like going to the store and buying an apple, like these things that you do without thinking, you just go on autopilot when you're home, are suddenly like huge tasks, you know, like even just going to the store to try on clothes. Like I go and it's like, like they're looking at me, like they see me, they recognize me as a foreigner. Like, oh gosh, just standing out is like really annoying to me. Like whenever I travel, I always try and blend in. And putting yourself in that situation can be really hard, okay? Really, 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 really frustrating. And you kind of work yourself up. You get to the cash register with whatever you want to buy, and you're like kind of frozen. And then they ask you something really simple that you would understand if you were just relaxed. But something like, oh, do you want a bag or do you want to pay with card? And all of a sudden you're like freaking out. You're like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know, no lo sé, like, oh gosh, I've been there so many times. And then you walk away and you're like, oh my gosh, wow, I'm such an idiot. Like, why? So yeah, what have I learned from all of this? I've learned to have incredible patience with myself and to really allow myself the time that it takes to learn a language. Because if I had it my way, I would wake up tomorrow and I would be native. I would have the right accent. I would construct all my sentences perfectly. I would know all the verb forms. I wouldn't have to go to school. It would be perfect. But then I think, like, okay, the jump from where I am right now to where I want to be, like, I wouldn't have that whole process. And there's so much value in that process. Really, there is. As frustrating as it is, there's a lot of value. I read something recently that said, basically, what did it say? It said, perfectionists are people who would rather come in last than come in second. Wow, that blew my mind. Okay, that really spoke to me because it highlighted my perfectionist tendencies, which I do have. And I need to just be nicer to myself and just allow myself to make the mistakes, because it truly, especially with language, it truly is through making the mistakes that you're going to learn. If you don't make mistakes, nothing is going to stick. And if nothing sticks, then you won't speak the language. I can't expect myself to speak like I have 25 years of Spanish when I actually have 25 years of English and only 6 months of Spanish. Another lesson I've learned throughout all of this has been to not take anything personally. This is obviously something I think we all continually learn throughout our entire lives. It's never really like, oh yeah, one and done, like I get it, don't take anything personally, got it. Like, no, but it really applies with language, because when you're in this position, you're in another country, you don't speak the language, you're going to have a whole spectrum of people in your life. There's going to be the people on the one end who really want to understand you and they're going to work with you even though you're butchering their language, and they care about you and they want to see you succeed. And then there's going to be the other people who look at you like, go back home, what are you doing here? Like, you don't belong here. And everyone in between. And no matter what anyone says or how they act around you, you have to just be willing to brush it off and say, you know what, I'm doing my best. That's all I can do. And, whether you accept me or not, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's a learning experience, and sorry, not sorry. You have to have this attitude of just letting it go, which, like I said, is a valuable life lesson in general, but it's just amped up times 10 when you're learning another language. So I'm the first to admit that I am a total wordy. I love words. I love grammar. I love expressing myself through this form. It's so interesting, and learning a language is beautiful because it allows you to communicate with so many more people. It just opens your world like to a whole bunch of people that you couldn't have talked with otherwise. And these people have stories, okay? They have interesting lives. They have things to tell you. You have things to learn from them, and you can't really learn from them if you don't speak their language. And it goes vice versa, and you really have to have the desire to want to learn from them in order to want to learn their language and to communicate. But it can be really almost heartbreaking when you are around someone and you can feel their vibe, okay? You can pick up on their energy. You know that you have feelings for them and you care about them as a human being, but you can't communicate with them. And you really have to be patient and allow other ways of communicating to come up, like body language, tone, expressions, like all of these other things that play into communication really start to apply to your daily life more so than ever before. Like they really feed your communication, sometimes even more than the actual words, which can be really interesting, but it's also really frustrating because lots of things get lost in translation, pun intended. So I want to challenge you lastly that if you've always wanted to learn another language and you've always made excuses for yourself as to why you can't, I just want to say you can, and you can challenge yourself, and I promise you're going to improve yourself in more ways than just being able to speak that language. It's gonna be amazing, and you're gonna see a transformation unlike any other in your entire life, and it's totally worthwhile. So just go for it. Just do it. If you like this video, you can show me some love, give me some likes, you can subscribe, you can follow my blog at Instagram at rawwanderlust, and my blog is rawwanderlust.com. Thanks for watching. See you guys.